Welcome to Reading the Green, our golf and fantasy sports show. My name is Mike with Kyle and Jordan on Tuesday, March 12th. This is episode 101, the Players' Championship preview and the Arnold Palmer Invitational recap. Welcome to the pod.
Thanks, Mike. You didn't ask how I was doing, but I am doing absolutely wonderful. Guess what? I golfed this evening.
Wait a sec. Hold on.
What?
It doesn't.
That was not discussed in the pre-pod prep, the triple P. What? Tell us, please. What's going on?
Yeah, I know everyone really wants to listen to the shot-by-shot recap of my round. But
you played a round?
Well, I played 9.
Okay.
Hey,
I parred the first hole. My first hole of the year. I parred it, and I probably hit my best tee shot I'll hit all year on number 1. 380 yards. There was a little downhill, a little wind helping, but I had 76 yards left of the hole.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know what got into me.
That's what you get on concrete fairways that haven't started growing and might have some frost on them.
Yeah, there was no frost involved, but yeah, you got a lot of rollout.
Yeah.
On the flip side, though, it was very hard to punt.
I was expecting you to come in and say something like, I opened the season with a 37, and then we find out you went and played Highland Green's 9-hole par 3 course.
No. Well, I can't even say I kept track the whole 9, but I did go par, as you guys would expect to follow that up with a double. But then another par. And I also hit a very good approach shot it was a par 3, like 195. It was great. But I'm done. Those 2 best shots of the year right there.
I'm happy for you, Kyle. It was a beautiful 68-degree day on March 12th in Minnesota, which is almost unheard of. I went to a golf course. It was to eat dinner, and I looked at the golf course, but that's about as close as I got, and I'm a little jealous.
Yeah, no, that's way to go, Kyle. Going in before Mike and I.
Yeah, I shed the long sleeves by the 3rd hole. Yeah.
Were you solo? Did you take a kid? Like, how did you swing this?
No, once with some buddies from business school and stuff. But it was a grand old time.
All right. Well, I hope to hear more of that. We'll get into Jordan. You'll get into Tuesday league season. We'll have lots of golf talk this year.
Yep. I'm ready for it.
Speaking of golf talk, I think we're all at the same point on Netflix Full Swing season 2. I've watched 3 episodes.
More or less.
Kyle, you've watched 3 episodes. Jordan, you've played 3 episodes.
Yeah, I've watched the 1st and the 3rd episode, and I guess I slept through the 2nd one because I thought the Joel Dahman episode was 2 until about 5 minutes ago.
I like how Jordan landmarks his episodes by which wives are in them.
Well, I was like, wait, I would remember Paulina if I saw that episode. Like, let's be real here.
Yeah, she got plenty of airtime. What's the initial reactions? I mean, 3 episodes in, you got any? Usually I should have wrote some of this stuff down, but initial takes, favorite parts, things that stuck out. There's plenty of takes out in Twitter if you're interested in following up. But what do you guys think?
Initial thoughts. One of my complaints last year. Overall, I enjoyed the show, just obviously because we're golf junkies. But the timeline and how they jump around, and I know they're trying to make each episode about certain players, but that's annoying. Like, we already know Wyndham Clark won the U.S. Open. You showed that, obviously, and reminded us all how that happened, and then we see it like play out again in the Wyndham Clark episode. It's like, okay.
It is kind of interesting, like seeing these same events from different perspectives. So you see Ricky lose the U.S. Open, you see Wyndham win the U.S. Open in separate episodes. It's actually kind of cool storytelling, but I think it's really confusing for people who don't intimately understand the golf season. Like, I'm watching this with my wife, who is a golfer and golf fan, but pays 0 attention to professional golf outside of like a Sunday afternoon at a major. And so I think it's confusing because I'm like trying to explain like, oh, no, like that already happened, or this is going to happen, or we saw, it's if I didn't know this stuff, or had like paid attention last year, like I would be lost.
The thing Netflix
even-
loves, all these new streaming channels love 6 to 10 episodes. Right? But like look at fucking the Wrexham show, Kyle, that we watched, right? Like you follow them for the whole season, you build up, you get emotionally invested, right? Like if we would have seen 2 episodes, 3 episodes of Wyndham Clark, like being bad or like all the way improving up, you'd be more invested than, oh, I got 45 minutes, half on 2 way more interesting people, and then Wyndham Clark wins it. Like just do the season, follow everyone at the U.S. Open, and show how they interact. I think that they're just missing out. This could be a 16 episode thing, and we would all watch it.
I think you're right, and I think like they could still tell the same stories about the players, but they could give it a little more chronology so that it actually makes sense.
Yeah.
Question just on Wyndham Clark. I don't want to spend a ton of time on him. I think he was one of the more. I wish I would have watched that episode before the API, because I then went into that episode with him thinking about the moron that he is in his whole support for shrinking the PGA Tour. Is he paying too much or not enough for his sports psychologist? Based on what I saw,
not enough.
Not enough.
I don't know. She sounded like she asked. I don't know. I hope that she's offering some serious insights off camera, but her questions on camera were like, do you feel nervous? What happens when you feel nervous? Try not feeling nervous.
But that, that's what he needed, though, right? Like,
I know.
Because I think that's.
Look at pre-2023 Wyndham Clark and look at 2023 Wyndham Clark, and I don't care what he paid her, it wasn't enough.
Yes.
Yeah. I know. Clearly that was the.
Yeah, it's just interesting though, right? Like even his caddy found her and was like, I wanted someone motherly, right? Oh, he lost his mom. He hasn't had that. It's basically like he's talking to his mom, right? And she's just doing the things that kind of like what moms would do, right? It's helped him.
Yeah, I think his
work
mom
through things
would remind him that 18 months ago he was 125 in the world. And so maybe don't then go, once you get your fame, tell everyone below 100, you got to get out of here because I'm about to pull the ladder up, as a couple of the golf media guys said. So anyways, other takes. You guys talked a little bit about the Joel Damon and Gino Benali episode. I think is an interesting continuation from last season. He clearly is out of sorts, and
it doesn't surprise me at all that he is struggling with. I thought the most striking thing he said is, it's one thing to be famous when you're good at golf. It's not another thing to be famous when you're bad at golf. That surmised it. I would challenge how famous Joel Dahmen really is. To us, yes.
But like even you saw the one guy after he got cut from the U.S. Open was like, hey, and I like got his older 20s kid got his autograph, like, oh, you fucking rock, you're the reason I was out here, and he stood there and waited to get Joel Dahmen's autograph, right? Like that wouldn't have happened. There's no one else that's happening to that isn't a top 10 player, which is crazy.
Well, I thought it was a cool scene on the airplane. They kind of get some of their stuff out there, and they decide, I'm gonna go and see someone. And I think you leave. The last scene is, Gino and Joel clearly playing on a practice round somewhere. Hey, he's hitting some good shots. Looks like he's finding it. After the U.S. Open, Joel went cut, T10 at the Barracuda, cut at the 3M, cut at the Fortinet, and then had like an okay fall. Then has had 3 cuts already this winter. So but it ain't getting much better for Joel.
Yes, but also with how they cut it, that quote that could have been from September, right? Well,
I got the impression
the last scene of them practicing, right? There's no.
It could have been.
There's no chronologicalness, and they don't care about when they're presenting it, right? They just wanted it to end on a high note, so they found it could have even been earlier, right? It could have been could have been from May when they recorded him. And oh yeah, good job, good hit.
It was 100% not from the U.S. Open because they show the video out the window and it's clearly traveling across the middle of America.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah, that too. Yeah,
flyover country. It wasn't from L.A. to Phoenix or L.A. to Washington.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. That's where
at least he still has friends that he can hitch a ride with
jet.
on the private jet. They can split it instead of him having to.
That was a Netflix jet.
Yeah.
Well, the last comment I'll make, and then we can move on with the show. And I certainly look forward to the remainder of the season, whether it's great TV or not. I enjoyed Ricky Fowler getting an inside look at his home and his family and his relationship with, his wife and his daughter and all that. And I thought he had a cool line. This is maybe the thought, like, as we're all parents of little kids here, but he walks off the 18th green at LACC. He says a really cool thing to Wyndham Clark, which you catch between the two episodes, which is, "Thanks for being a champ, and your mom would be proud of you." I mean, Ricky is just like the ultimate dude out there. And he said something in that second episode. He said, I left the green, and for like 5 seconds, I'm like, God, this really sucks. And then I pick up Maya, and I'm like, it's all good.
Yeah.
So he's such a class act, and that's probably what's going to keep him from probably winning a major in his career. But I'm okay cheering for him anytime.
Well, and I think to take that even a step further, and one of the things I've realized, especially to put a selfish lens on this when it comes to betting in DFS and everything like that, is how much the family part of it does affect these guys, and that we don't take enough of that into account. That when there is a change in their life, I mean, we've all went through it. That's going to affect their golf game. And I know it's kind of joked about in the Twitterverse, but it probably should be taken more seriously from young kids, second kids, things of that nature.
That Chad Eckert Fantasy Golf Pod has his own strokes gained family metric that he follows. And so if you want a good follow out there for who's got life changes going on, Chad Eckert Fantasy Golf Pod, he's always on top of it. So that's probably a good segue into beer and then some PGA Tour golf. So I'm going to start. You guys inspired me. Two things. One, at 6:30, there was no beer in this house. And so one of my children and I ran over to the liquor store, and I was able to pick up, they had lots of Shooter McGavin.
Ooh.
So I'm very happy to have the 8.2% all Citra Shooter McGavin from Barrel Theory, a real solid beer.
Very good.
That sounds delicious. I would be happily drinking this right now. It's funny that you're well stocked and made a run for it, because that's usually what I do, but my house is opposite. It's not well stocked.
I couldn't take 3 weeks in a row of you guys making fun of me for not having real beer.
So I have dual citizen. This must be the pale. It's a pale ale. It's serviceable, but it's the best thing I had. And then on deck, I do have the old standby Fair State Pilsner.
That's your go-to. That is your go-to. I've got a little Drastic Measures here. Knucklehead. Pretty fun can. Hazy IPA. Only 7 though. So I'm keeping it trying 7.5 and below only. So that it's my ABV and my handicap goal.
Nice. I like that.
That actually
thought of that one right there. Had to pull it out.
Did you guys see? I forget where it popped up today. I think it was Podrick, right? That said his goal, or he believes he could take any golfer there is and get him to a single number handicap.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that hard to get to a single number handicap if you practice. No, you don't practice.
Play the right tees. That's all. Like if you were to play the right tees,
yes.
And like it, like that's, yeah. I mean, a single digit handicap. If you want to be a 9-9.
Anyway, I sent him I sent him a DM. Well, I'll let you guys know.
I'm just saying, you want to be a 9-9, you could probably, so Lou Stagner's probably got the data out there. I got to imagine the average score of a 9.9 is like 84 or 85 with the occasional 80 or 81. And
yeah,
Kyle, like you are not, I know an 89 was your first 89 last season. It's not that difficult to find 5 strokes in your game per round.
I agree. But
So,
yeah.
and
and it's easier to go from 110 to 100 is easier than 100 to 90, is easier to 90 to 80, is easier to 80 to 70. So like it wouldn't be right. The curve of difficulty gets exponentially harder when you're up by like Mike, right? Mike practices 10 times as much as you and I do
it does not
combined.
pay off. It's just because I enjoy getting out of the house.
See, but what's practice? I hit the best drive of the day after not swinging a club for, I think I have once in 5 months. Like, come on.
All right. Well, let's do a little pro golf talk. Let's recap the Arnold Palmer Invitational, and I guess we'll start with the guy that won by 5 strokes. And Bay Hill, like I like Bay Hill. And I think it maybe is getting beat up by distance a little bit, but it can show its teeth. I mean, I think we typically see a single digit under par winner here. And that's basically what we had, except for Scotty clearing the field by 5 strokes. And it's crazy that when you have guys on the weekend shooting 75 and 76, good golfers like Rory and Xander and Vic, and then you have guys like Scotty that just go out on Sunday in the toughest conditions and shoot 66. Like that's what elite ball, that's what generational ball striking does. And we take it for granted because we hate on him for being a terrible putter. And this is what elite golf looks like.
I agree. Scotty was machine. Overall, I think Bay Hill is a great course, obviously, to have on the tour. It's a great event. The API. Is it a course I ever would want to play? No. But is it really super interesting from like a rounding perspective? No, either. But I think it's perfect for the modern game to test these guys. You look at that tee shot on 6. Like, how many guys just eject there? Including what we said, we had a 12, which that was actually pretty funny. I was like, oh, he's not doing too bad. Jake Knapp's even for the day. What are you talking about? I hadn't rechecked the score since the 6th or since the 12th posted. So yeah, it's funny. But that with and granted, even that's artificially made, but the internal will be on the right. But I think it's a great course for the tour. It makes for good TV, and it was a good leaderboard, which is the first really elevated one we've had all this year. Not that bothered me so far, but I enjoyed it.
I am a little tired of, it's only been 3 weeks, but I'm a little tired of Florida golf, and I'm happy that we're headed to TPC Sawgrass because I think and we'll get into this in the preview, but the diabolical Pete Dye, like, I think really helps Florida golf stand out. But the last couple of weeks, you got PGA National and you got Bay Hill, like so many of the holes look the same. There's no change in elevation.
Yeah.
I like watching the action, but the golf course in the setting doesn't do a lot for me.
The swamp golf.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of homes, a lot of big, like Bay Hill's got like 3 and 6. They're like basically the identical hole. You just hit a right to left, huge, gigantic body of water on the left side of the hole. Like it's, you get a lot of that. The other question I'll ask before we just run through the RTG results, where do whiny babies like Rory and Wyndham Clark belong in golf right now? You got them doing their thing post round about how the PGA Tour is too big and it needs to be more exclusive and more cutthroat. We got to cut these field sizes. And then you got guys like Bryce Garnett that are weeping at the press conference mic because this is his first win in however many years, and he's not sure at 40 years old what his career is going to look like and how life-changing this is. Like, that's what we're kind of used to as PGA Tour fans, and then you got on the other end of the spectrum, you got these guys doing their thing. So,
well, that's hot take, Mike. I'm not with you on going as hard against Wyndham and Rory as you are, but I don't fully agree with them. I think I'm okay with creating segmentation, I guess, in a tier system more within the
You
tour.
mean like a G League?
Well, or like a Premier League and the
A
Champions League and
double
League
A
One.
and double A, triple A ball and Corn
No,
Ferry.
more of the English style system. But if you want that, I think it's even got to be more aggressive. You know, they threw out top 100 with the bottom 20 places going up and down.
Basically what the tour is.
Yeah, I would say no. Like 100 is your main, can be your main tour, but 40 to hell even 50 are, if you're not in top 50, you're down to the second level to go play in the alt events or step it up. And the other thing is I don't hate the small fields as much as some, but like 69, 70 isn't doing it for me. At least there is a cut. Please don't get rid of the cut, but everything should be at least 100.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if they did, if you did the Premier League style, right? There's a top 50 event the first weekend of the month, followed by 2, or maybe not, do it every 3 weeks, and then do 2 of the lesser ones, and the top 5 from each of that get to play in the top one, and the bottom 10 from the better field have to go play in those 2 weeks and try and get back into it, right? But then you risk, right, like, oh, Rory sucks for one tournament and goes down. I don't think it'll ever happen, but
that's what Rory's trying to protect against. He's trying to protect against never having to have his job status in jeopardy, no matter how bad he plays for the rest of his career. Like and we would all do that if we were in that position. I actually will forgive Wyndham a little bit. If you actually watch the clip in his response, he was asked specifically, like, by the reporter, like, oh, Wyndham, like, what do you think if the PGA Tour were to go to, like, be more exclusive and only be limited to 100 players? And he was like, oh, yeah, no, I guess that kind of makes sense. Like, I could see a future where that happens and maybe 20 guys are up and 20 guys are down. So he was more agreeing with the question, and then people just roasted him for it. So I'm being a little hard on him, but I do like we're just getting out of this live stuff, and it's like the PGA Tour kind of has a path forward, and we still got guys that are griping about the format on both sides. And so it's just like, for like 3 months, could we just like watch the golf tournament?
Well, and like, I don't know. The other thing I was thinking about, the PGA Tour Rookie of the Year last year was what, 35 years old, 36-year-old Eric Cole, right? Like, would have never made it into the exclusive tournaments to even get into that conversation, right?
And that's the question: is like, do you want guys like,
he's already fallen back down? So, right, if you made him work a whole season, right? He worked 5 years to get off the Corn Ferry Tour, and then, but if it's even more exclusive, he doesn't even make it to the PGA Tour, and
I think that's the question: is like, do you want guys like Eric Cole to even have a chance? And I think a lot of the stars right now would say, I could do without Eric Cole. So, final thought, Kyle?
Yeah, and it kind of ties in back to what we were talking about earlier in the Netflix documentary and everything, Rory too. I feel like I almost feel bad for Rory sometimes, especially the stuff with Jay Monahan and how he kind of got set up last year, especially going into the RBC and everything.
Yeah.
At the same time, I mean, Rory's open. And we always say, hey, that's a good, we love athletes when they talk, they tell us what they're thinking and are, tell us stories. Like it was going around, I guess, in the press conference today, he got asked about his first time at the Players and how he missed the cut, and then went to the bars in Jack's Beach and got kicked out because he was 20 with a fake ID. And so like, at the same time, I can't be too hard on the guys because we want them to talk. We want to give them anecdotes like that. And sometimes they probably kind of just say things off the cuff of what they're thinking. And to your point about Clark, people take it as a soundbite and run with it.
Yep. Well, good stuff. Let's just run through RTG results really quick. Listener League Ness 0163, following up a second place finish at the Arnold Palmer. Previous week at the Cognizant with a first place finish at the Arnold Palmer. New RTG Listener League player, One Comcos, finishes in second, and then JYATD in third. Model wise, Kyle, I texted you this before the tournament started, I said, I think I found something for whatever reason. Guys that we rank in the middle of the power index, specifically power index rankings 50 to 59, have finished collectively, 4 or 5 players each week, finished collectively below average in DK scoring every single week this year. This week was no difference, 10 points below the DK point average. And that's why guys like Matt Fitzpatrick, I think we were all over fading him. That was probably the good thing. The bad thing was that we had 2 landmines we probably shouldn't have, both Fitz and Adam Scott. Like 85% of the field made the cut this week. We probably, it kind of sucks to have a couple of our top plays swing and miss.
Yeah, it was a rough week, but that's been the year for me so far. When I try to zig, it's a week to zag. When I try to zag, it's a week to zig. When I try to fade chalk hits. So let's flush that one away.
That means, Kyle, it's a week to sig.
Yeah,
Grayson.
there you go.
Grayson sig.
As in Grayson. Boom. Jordan's first play of the week.
Third route.
Top overall RTG expert, top follow, Pat Mayo. His newsletter picks Wyndham Clark, Ludwig Aubert, Corey Connors, and Tom Hoagie. Mayo with the gutsiest play as well with Wyndham Clark. So the only one to take Clark, who finishes. Did he finish in second? I should look at the actual results. I think he was up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Landmines, we said Adam Scott and Matt Fitzpatrick. Jordan, we sweated Rory in the Survivor League.
Not even close.
At the end of the day, he wasn't missing the cut.
He got it done. We're good.
Yep, that's all that matters. And I think that was ultimately the right play. Like, I don't foresee really needing Rory anywhere else. I feel really good going into this week for you. So, final thoughts on the Arnold Palmer Invitational? Anything else?
One and done. Big money week. Big money week. With four Scheffler picks that each got 4 million. Changed up the leaderboard quite a lot. A few Zalatoris.
Who was that?
Yeah, GM regulations coming from dead last.
Who else picks Scheffler?
Champles, Iowa State Clones, Jeans in Regulation, and Springman.
Wait a sec. Last week on the pod, I said I was taking Scheffler and one and done. Why didn't you say my name?
Because you are terrible at this game, and even when you have the right pick, you don't put it in.
So embarrassing.
That's, at least I'm not the only one this year. I even usually look. I try and look Wednesday night, and then I will send out a text here or there if I know the person. I didn't look. Sorry, Mike.
It's okay. It's okay. I feel good in my heart that I called Scotty last week on the air. I feel bad that I didn't actually put it in the app.
Yes. But so those 4 people that won last week are now all in first, second, third, and fourth place. There's been a total changeover. Turns out if you get the guy right on a $4 million week, you can make some moves.
Well, the only good news is that we have the largest purse coming up this week at the Players Championship. So anything can happen.
4 from the bottom, Mike, just to warn you. Kyle separated himself from you a little bit. He's 6th from the bottom. So
we'll change this. There's 4 people that can't play Scotty. All right. Let's do this. The Players Championship. I call this the OG signature event. I think most people would say this. This was the signature event for the PGA Tour before we cared about signature events. But we go to TPC Sawgrass in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, just outside of Jacksonville. I said the diabolical Pete Dye. This is a classic Pete Dye course. We get a full field event, top 65 in ties. And Kyle, we talk a lot. This is really kind of the first Pete Dye test we've had. What do we get when we go to a Pete Dye setup?
Double dog legs, a lot of positioning. You have to play towards the hazard, which, funny enough, there's a hazard on every hole. I do not ever want to play TPC Sawgrass until I'm better, until I reach that 9.9. How about that?
There we go.
You looking and we've talked a lot about Rick Runga this year. We're using him as our data set so far. You look at the correlation of the 52 courses on the tour last year. It ranked 8th in the importance of strokes gained off the tee, which is kind of funny because there's a lot of club down to avoid the water. You don't need the distance here, but accuracy doesn't overly rate high, but that's because accuracy is not all about fairways hit. It's 100% about positioning, being in the right part of the fairway and giving yourself the right angle to the green. Stroke gain approach, obviously really high. 21% of your approach shots are the 125 to 150 yard range. A little tease there of who might be the best on tour at that yardage so far this year. Is a guy that's rising to the top of the model. You need eagles, and because there's only 5 holes on the course that score below par, 4 of the par 5s, and it's particularly number 16 shows some eagle opportunities. So you got to be able to get after it when you can, avoid doubles or worse, stay out of trouble. And very interesting note on recent form, seems to have some great correlation here. Ron Kloss from BetSperts said each of the last 5 winners at TPC Sawgrass have averaged at least 1.5 strokes gained per round in the last 4 months before the Players. This year, there's only 3 golfers that would meet that right now. Obviously, Scotty at 2.28, Matthew Pavon at 1.52, and Xander at 1.51.
Oh, okay. So those are the only 3 people that have a chance at winning.
I think 2 of them certainly do. I still tend to drag Pavone down here, even though he keeps showing up all year long. So we'll see. Kyle, excellent course preview. I will offer on the strategy side. I teased this out a little bit pre-pod. Jordan, there was a statistic floating around that when you look at the tee time draw, the last 15 winners of the Players Championship, so since 2007, 13 of the winners drew the AM PM draw, and 2 drew the PM AM draw, one of them being Tiger Woods in 2013, the other being Martin Keimer in 2014 when he had just an absolutely epic season. So for the most part, you have your champion coming out of AM PM. Now, Kyle,
wait. Cross-reference that with what Kyle just said. Who's it going to be then? We know Scotty is in the afternoon one. Is it Xander? Is Pavon going to win this?
Xander does have the AM start on Thursday. But I did want to add, Kyle, I just noticed on that statistic that was 2007 through 2022. So I don't remember where Scotty teed off last year. I don't know exactly, but for the record, Pavone is PM AM this year. So by process of elimination, Xander would be your guy.
Tweet that out, Mike.
Jordan's putting his 401k on Xander.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's just kick it off before we even get to the RTG model. I want to do the Survivor League workshop, but instead of saying who we should pick, Kyle, I'd like to hear the argument of why you don't pick Scotty.
I don't have one. It's Scotty. It's Scotty. If you go down taking Scotty here, so be it. But safest player in a volatile event, and you have no reason to do anything different.
The PM AM point, Jordan, I think, was that he may not win coming out of the PM wave, but we're assuming he's making the cut.
Okay. Then I'm okay. Because we're down to, what did I text out? 38 people.
Mm-hmm.
Lost, I think, 5 or 6 more last week.
I got to imagine you're seeing 22, 25. I mean, I don't know how many people have played Scotty already, but you might be in that low 20 range of people playing Scotty this week.
It always amazes me when Jordan sends it out, though. There is at least 6 to 8 people every week that get really risky, like CT Pan.
CT Pan.
I mean, it worked. He at the Cognizant, somebody played CT Pan.
Yeah,
I know.
Well, there was
Survivor.
one Hideki and one Jason Day last week, one Sam
Mhm.
Burns, one Spieth, one Cameron Young, one Shane
you get to-
Lowry. Otherwise, all big names.
You get to a point where maybe you're just rolling the dice. You're saying, if I can get a guy that I'm the only owner, like I might win the pot this week. So
I think there's some people that will do that this week, thinking that, if Scotty goes down, there goes 20 people. But
you'll sleep at night. You'll sleep at night knowing that you went down with Scotty. It's no problem.
Especially if the guy can putt now, let's go.
Yeah, he switched to a mallet. You see him, TaylorMade let out their video of them making it, comparing it to Rory's setup.
No line on top.
No, it's got a line.
Or there's no line on the ball. Is that what it is? He used to line it up with the line on the ball, and he stopped doing. There's something with a line. I don't know.
There is on the back. The back of the putter has the long line. Because I watched the whole video of them making it, because I enjoy those things.
Well, Kyle, why don't you give us the rundown of the RTG model for the Players Championship as we stand on Tuesday night?
Jordan, we might need, to go check the back end of the model here this week, and because I feel like it might be the back end.
What?
It might be giving us some erroneous data. So if you could explore that back end, that would be much appreciated. Because according to this so far, the most recommended play by a substantial margin at 56% mention share, the MPI is a little soft, 38. It's Tom Hoge, $7,800.
So
the key course comps, Fargo Country Club and Detroit Country Club. I just, that's what I've seen, so I'm not surprised.
So I might have teased this. With 21% of your strokes gained shots come in 125 to 150. Who's the best player on tour so far this year at that distance?
Kyle Lang.
Tables.
Kyle Lang. Secondly, Tom Hoge.
Tommy Tables.
So I think that's probably what some people are latching onto here. He also had a good finish last year.
It's an easy, with just the price too, with this big field, like $700-800 for him at what he's been doing. Like, look at the comparables. Like EVR is a little cheaper. Siwoo Kim, $200 more. Who's playing Siwoo Kim over Tom Hoge right now? No.
Tom is the number one ranked player in the field in strokes gained approach. Absolutely elite iron play right now, and I think that's what you're banking on. Last 2 years here,
him in the Survivor?
Absolutely not. We know that especially because all the emotional investment I've made in this guy, he'll miss the cut, obviously, at 20% owned or whatever it's going to be. But, he's a negative putter here the last year. He got 62 here last year. Negative putter the last 2 years, finishing T3 and T33. Elite iron play, solid off the tee. The floor, like, skill-wise, he sets a pretty high floor. So he's going to miss the cut.
That always seems to be the theme whenever we bought back Tommy Tables holistically around here.
Yeah.
But it's what the model shows so far. So we'll see how it shakes out tomorrow, because we do have about 8 to 10 contributors still trickling in. But I would have to make a click as of now. The next group, we have 5 golfers coming in, just under 40%. Hideki at 9,800, Justin Thomas at 10.6, Max Homa at 9.6, Scotty Scheffler 12.8, and Shane Lowry at 9,100. A lot of good course history there, which I'm not putting much stake in this week. And guys, can we talk about how frustrating Hideki is? He tells everyone his back hurts, that he, even if after he played well on Thursday, how much his back hurts, doesn't know if he can do it. We changed lineups to move Decky out because in the past he's complained about stuff in WD, especially after he put 15 water balls in at TPC Twin Cities, and then the guy goes out and finishes 6.
Decky? Let's be clear. Hideki tells someone who tells Pat Mayo, who writes an email that Kyle gets that he sends to Mike, who then global swaps out all Hideki in all of his DFS lineups, only to find him, -6 the first round at the Arnold Palmer.
Yeah, you know why he does that? Because he's bet on himself. He goes and bets on himself right before he tees off because the shifted so far that he's going to miss the cut.
I hope so. There's no other explanation.
Most golfers, I won't pay attention to it, but with Decky, it's tracked in the past, right?
Yeah.
So,
maybe it's just a translation thing, right? Like you can't pronounce Asian names well. Maybe when he tries to say that his back is hurting, he's actually saying my back feels great, and they just didn't understand it. Like, could be, maybe it's that way.
It's just a joke him and his translator have, right?
Yeah.
Like they purposefully put out misinformation and just take solace in it. I don't know. From an MPI perspective, the guy I liked most out of there is Shane Lowry. He's coming at 81 on the Mitch Power Index so far. Coughlin from In Between Media, Landon Slinsky is on him, and Smith over at Stochastic cheat sheet so far. So overall, though, what do you think there, Mike?
Well, I really wish we owned Hoagie in the Calcutta because I don't really want to play him in DFS this week. Yes, his game is tailor-made for this golf course right now, but at 22% ownership, and we could talk all about ownership strategy and whether or not we should follow it, but that's so much to take on at $7,800. So I want Tom to do great this week, but I don't know that I'm going to be playing him at that at that stake. I do like Shane Lowry, elite driver of the golf ball. He is coming out of that PM wave, and so whatever that means, I have not checked the weather, but that Shane's got the grittiness in his game to survive tough conditions if Thursday afternoon tends to be a struggle. But I want a guy that's going to be at the top of his game off the tee, and I think Shane at $9,100 fits that profile. And then I want to highlight one of our newer contributors, Matt Gannon, writing through the sports podcast, the sports podcasting network, sports gambling podcasting network. So Matt joins us 4 events ago. And in those 4 events, he finishes as the second best, the first, the 5th best, and the second best contributor in our model out of the 30-some that we are ranking week to week. And I know it's only 4 events, but it comes off as absolute elite DFS picking form. And so just really quick, Matt is usually recommending 3 picks each week. This week would be Russell Henley, Ryo Hisatsune. Oh no, Hisatsun. Got that right. Ryo Hisatsun and Xander Schauffele. So I want to back Matt this week on Xander Schauffele. 11-3 feels a little steep, but this pricing in this field is that way, so you can certainly get some relief lower down. But Xander hasn't missed a cut in his last 25 events. Cut making machine, plenty of top 10s, finishes 19th last year. The only downside is his course history isn't great. He's missed 3 out of 6 cuts at the Players Championship, but elite off the tee, elite on approach, plenty of distance. Give me Xander top 5 this week. I'm there.
I've been giving a lot of thought to Xander. Also following Gannon closely this week. I think I'm not a guy that tries to completely avoid ownership that often. I'm firmly believer in that you can play ownership, but you just got to maybe play them a little bit differently if you're going to do so. But this is one week. If you want to get weird, right? So we talked about Mayo's newsletter earlier. He put out something on just looking back the last couple of years and basically how the chalk did. So if you look back, last year, there was 3 guys sub 2% owned in the top 10, and only 3 guys over 10% owned in the top 10. It gets even, like, you go back to 2023, there was only 2 guys over 10% owned and no one over 14% owned in the top 10. And you had Annabon Lahari at 0.05% second, Kevin Kisner at third at 1.5% in scoring, Pat Gazire ninth, 0.88%. Keep going back the year before that, no one over 18% in the top 10. Still always someone under 1%, and 2 others under 3%. So that's continuous. I highly recommend signing up for Mayo's newsletter. This is always free, and he puts out information like that.
Yeah, and it gets you off of Hideki right before tournaments where he does well.
Yeah, it does. It does. But like my takeaways there is, I think you got plenty of flags this week, and I like some of the plays you highlighted, Mike. Xander makes sense. I think there's a big debate, Scotty not to Scotty. Everyone's having this week. I think you need Scotty exposure somewhere, whether you do that in DFS or one and done, or even load up from a betting perspective. You can get a boost. That's completely up to you. But trying to go down board a little bit from some of my picks this week, because you're gonna have to get some solid savings to play any of those guys. I like Nick Taylor at 6,900. Our model is a little bit lukewarm from a mention power standpoint, but he is getting some love at 34% mention share. Coughlin, who's also a new contributor, who's been doing pretty well, right behind Gannon's on him. John Hasselbauer's on him. He's won on the TPC course this year. He's been gained on strokes gained approach in 6 weeks straight, and he's only $6,900 for someone that's shown they can win. I think that's a great price. I do like Rio Hasusune as well. I know I've put him out multiple times this year, but if there's a course that really marries that fit, this is it. And if you look at the last 6 months, strokes gained tee to green, he is top 10 in this field. When you look at multiple tours to go into that Rick Rumgen has a measure on. And then I'm always fully in on my boy Willie Z, 9,900. I still think you can fit that in with one of the bigger guys.
You're going Willie Z at $9,900 as a play to make.
You can fit that in with some of the other guys, especially
I can fit a lot of stuff in. It's just, is it a good decision or not, Kyle?
I love it, Jordan. Let's go. 22% mention share so far.
Willie Z is back.
He is fully back.
He's front end of the model. Let's do it.
On the Willie Z train, Landon Splinsky, Fantasy Labs on him. Lynn Hogberg.
All right, one and done. Put it in the one and done, Kyle. Let's mark it.
I'm not saying he's going to win this week, but I like Willie Z from a DFS perspective.
Now, see, this is me trying to help you get out of almost last place in one and done. Right, you're going to overthink it now. You're going to put someone else in.
Jordan, are you in first place? I don't know. I don't understand why. I'm taking advice here.
Here, let's do. Well, are you playing Scotty this week in one and done or no?
I'm not going to disclose that.
I'll play you a bet. If you don't pick Scotty, I'll take $5 that Willie Z finishes higher than whoever you end up picking.
No.
Jordan, I do want to come back to, just since you're on the one and done topic. Are you cool if I play Scotty in one and done and you play him in Survivor? Or do you want me to pick someone else?
No,
that's a great question.
You've made a lot of cuts. You just always get like last place. You won $22,000. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay. As long as you actually click the button. Actually, don't click the button. I'm gonna go in as commissioner and undo it just so Scotty wins again.
I believe that. All right. Well, and Jordan, anyone else you wanna highlight? Otherwise,
I actually had Willie Z on my list of don't plays for $9,900 based on you can get Shane Lowry for $800 less. I'll take that. Homa's cheaper than that. Like Willie Z has played okay, but I don't know if I'm. But I'll still make that bet, Kyle. You've got until tomorrow night to take me up on that bet.
One reason on Tuesday night not to play Willie Z. 55 on the RTG Power Index, which we know is just on
fire.
Yeah.
Well, that's just so. I normally go down and find someone that's 75 or above further down the list. There's no one, right? There's only two people that are green
pretty middling.
on the power index, are Lowry and Xander. So I'm going the opposite this week with Pavan. 0. He's at a 0 on the mentioned power index. So I'm going all in on him.
Well documented on this podcast already that the bottom of our power index does not necessarily mean that is a player to fade. I typically mean it's a player with high it's a group of players with high volatility. And because this is a year where we've seen a lot of volatility in the in winners and in top finishers, that group of players at the bottom of our power index is performing above average week to week on DK scoring. The question is just going to be which of them are the ones you want to play. Now, I got Pavan as number 14.
He's the only 0, Mike. He is the only 0 right now.
Yeah, I know.
EVR is at 1. He is the only 0.
And I can back EVR this week. We already said he's a Matt Gannon play. I got Pavan in my as number 14 in my model at the moment through Rick Run Good. So I don't mind it.
One last thought on Willie Z. I'm going to go back to that just to have some stats to back this up, Jordan. So not only has he been 13nd, 4th, and we talked about how important recent form is here. In ball striking, he's gained 6.7 strokes and 8 strokes the last 2 weeks. Things we're looking at very closely, right? But if there is a reason to fade him, is because currently, according to Rick Rungood, he's going to be the second highest owned player on the slate behind Scotty. So it would purely be
at $9,900. He's going to be the second highest owned. That seems crazy.
It does seem crazy, unless you are thinking that you are playing Scotty, Zalatoris, and then a whole bunch of 5K weirdness.
Yeah.
Well, they're playing Scotty, Willie Z, Hoagie, Keith Mitchell.
Yeah.
What do you need to make that work in there?
I haven't even started building yet. Well, are you guys ready? As you guys fiddle with your initial lineups, are you guys ready for some name game?
Let's do it.
Yep. I want team 4.
George, that's right. You know what? You want to take
I haven't won yet. I'm not going to look at the names. Give me team 4. 4 is my lucky number. Let's go.
Technically, Kyle, before we start this, technically the listeners are picking first by 1 point. But would it be fair just to give Jordan team 4 and give the listeners, we'll pick one out of the final 3? Is that fair?
Yeah, it's a blind call.
Okay.
We'll give it to him.
Blind call. All right, we'll give it to him. All right, here we go.
Also, but once you read through them, I want you to just decide, would you have given them to the listeners? Probably not, because I picked them, so it's going to be the worst team. But I want your takes once it comes out.
I think you're going to like this. So last week at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, the API, we had lots of tech founders and CEOs talking about their application programming interfaces. I took it down with Nick Taylor, Brian Harmon, and then the chalk Scotty Scheffler. That got it done. 41-point margin, so it wasn't even close. This week we head to the Players Championship. Now, of course, if we're at the Players Championship, we must have some players in the field. And I'm not talking about guys that are good at golf. I'm talking about players.
Players.
Talking about
Kyle,
players.
how do you know?
You need to just cue some music up here, Mike.
How do you know he's from Edina, Kyle?
Yeah, I'm not a player. I just cross a lot.
So here we go.
Stop by at the start. Damn it.
Yep, there you go.
That's why you don't talk over those things. All right, here we go. We got 4 teams of players. We got Victor Hovland. Victor Hovland, he moved back to college. Back to his college town. Like, he's living as a bachelor in Stillwater, Oklahoma. He's a player. Nick Dunlap wins a PGA Tour event as an amateur. He's going to have no problem in his pro career. And Emiliano Grillo actually divorced his childhood sweetheart, and he's already back on the market. So team 1 there, Hovland, Dunlap, Grillo. Sorry, that's a team. Jordan, you told me not to tell you which teams they are.
Did you hear why he divorced her? Or well, she divorced him because he wouldn't join Liv.
I have no comment. That very light research done in this, so there may be some misinformation here, but we're making it work. Next up, we got Ludwig Aubert. He won PGA Tour U, so he's coming on the scene. He's a newly minted bachelor on the PGA Tour. Minwoo Lee wears Lululemon. I think that makes him a playa. And Ryo Hitsatsun, teenage phenom, now 21 and eligible, but he's out there making his way. Next, we have Sahith Theegala. He's not afraid to cry on camera. He's a sensitive guy. Tom Kim speaks 100 languages, so plenty of versatility. And Mathieu Pavon, he's got a weird tattoo on the back of his hand of some quote that doesn't make any sense. That's pretty hardcore. And lastly, we'll give you Wyndham Clark, who, following the U.S. Open, was linked to 2 different women. It was still unclear who he's actually dating, seeing, spending his time with.
Yeah, we all know it's his therapist.
He is for sure. Highlight the one in pink very much. And they should have highlighted that one more.
Got Jake Knapp. You guys are probably familiar with Jake Knapp. He was a bouncer trying to earn a few extra bucks to make his way on Korn Ferry. That's
I might have heard once or twice.
Yep. And then Bo Hostler, dating his college sweetheart still. He's 28 years old, hasn't popped the question. So, who knows what he's got going on. So there you go. There's your 12 players in the field.
So wait, which players did I end up with?
Can we request that you don't say that again, Mike? Yeah,
please. You are the whitest person here, and Kyle and I are fucking white.
just trying to liven things up a little bit. My shooter McGavin is empty, so
I appreciate that you have your player's hat on. And why is there not a second shooter McGavin on deck?
Because there was already a high noon tequila that was already consumed, which these are terrible, by the way.
Yeah, tequila is so much worse than vodka.
You're not on Norley enough. We're not sponsored. You don't need to drink that. All right, so Jordan already requested one team, huh?
Mm-hmm. You requested one team. You got Sahith, Tom Kim, and Mathieu Pavon.
Oh, and I just called him as my DFS play also. Let's go. That means he's going to for sure fucking miss the cut. There's a 0% chance that he makes the cut now.
All of these players coming between 23,200 and 23,600. Kyle, do you have a line on the listeners here?
I think the listeners like the hype, right? They're groupies. They want to chase these players. So I think they want team 3. That's team groupie in my mind.
Yeah, they got a lot of the young guys, and I know it. I'll be very clear. The player. I'm not saying the player moniker. I excluded, like, if they had a serious girlfriend, I said, you know what, they're not married. So they're still a player as far as the name game goes.
I appreciate the vibe here, Mike.
Very creative. Also, I highly recommend Googling Emiliano Grillo's girlfriend.
The new one following the divorce.
Yep. He's got a child with her already, so it's been many years that they've been dating, but still. Okay. Google it, guys.
Although I think that made sense from a narrative perspective, but I probably should have left team 3 for myself. I feel like there's some landmines in teams 1 and 2, but I'm gonna go. Give me team 1. Okay. I like Emiliano this week, not just because Jordan says he's linked to some nice Googling potential, but I like it.
Team 2, I get Wyndham Clark, Jake Knapp, Bo Hostler. I am in trouble, I think.
That's the most expensive team.
I know, and I think with Wyndham at 9,700 is probably. I'm not gonna say he's overpriced. He certainly deserves to be there, but just the way that this shakes out, I got to also take on Jake Knapp and Bo Hostler. I'm in trouble. So there we are, the Players Championship name game final bit. Kyle, as I ask you every week, did you find time to bet on the Players Championship?
Perhaps. We still need to workshop one thing. And again, just like a lot of things this year, this hasn't been great. Hit windy seat at the AT&T, but I could use it up. So far, what I have in is I have these 5 guys outright, and then for first round leader, I have Tom Kim, 75-1, which was a great fire by me on Monday because he's since moved to 90. Matthew Pavon, as we've talked about, 150. I mean, he fit into that metric in 150. I had to fire. I had to go there, right?
Yep.
Nick Taylor, 110. I have Tommy Fleetwood at 50. And my boy, Rishu Hessasum at 300.
We're getting closer.
I actually wrote it out like phonetically, but when I get in the pod, it just doesn't work. But anyway, I have I really like Rio's first round leader, by the way. That's the play. That's the Kyle Lang play of the week. I have room on the card to take somebody towards the top of the board, probably 20, 30 range. And I just can't decide. I've thought about JT at 22. I've thought about Cantlay at 28, just because that's a silly number for Cantlay usually. So open to ideas. I even laid out who's won the most events of the last 2 years and just said, hey, I just want to pick guys that can win. But even if you do that, guys like Grayson Murray are, funny enough, top 10 and won events on all tours the last 2 years. So open to ideas. Let me know.
JT.
JT's 22, Vic's 22, Homeless 25, Cantley's 28, Collins 30. My lean there would be JT.
Yep. I think he's got the history here. He's got the win.
Or I could take Clark at 50.
He's been a big event guy this year. That's for sure. He's certainly not afraid of the moment. I don't know. I lean JT there. It's maybe a similar question, and I know that we don't have time to cover all of this, but we may be sniffing out a Calcutta squad for just the Players Championship. So let's work our model over the next 24 hours. This thing wraps up in just under 24 hours. Looking for guys that we think are top 6 locks. Think about it.
If I have any excitement about that now, it's the long shots. The long shots are in play here. Much more.
I think so. I think with the volatility, we talked about the draw and the tee times being important. Check out the weather. Like, I think there is definitely an opportunity to get some ROI in that thing. So anyways, we'll see what happens in a week when we're back. Right now, you can follow us on Twitter at RTG Podcast DFS with Players Championship picks and other content all week long. Our podcast is out on our YouTube channel, Reading the Green, and any major podcast platform every Wednesday morning. And so with that, we'll be back in a week with the results of the Players Championship and look ahead to one of Kyle's favorite 3-hole stretches on the PGA Tour, the Snake Pit at Innisbrook for the Valspar. See ya.